Muito obrigado por fazer a nossa listinha.
Não, ele vai aguardar as crianças.
Para três crianças?
Os dois bebês, né? Então ele está ficando com os bebês e falou que está cuidando. Que quer ver como é que é eles assim. Cresceu.
Right. Start your floor and prayer. I invite you to close your eyes. Try to feel the gratitude for being here today, this opportunity. Try to look for yourself. Try to reinvent the way you think, the way you feel the world, the way we feel God, our eternal Father. Dear Father, thank you for this opportunity. And we're looking forward to this meeting of broader connection with you, understanding your laws, understanding our connections with these laws. May we reconsider developing the virtues that we are invited to do. May the Spiritist doctrine reconnect us with our essential being, so that we decide for the eternal happiness that we are all invited to. May this meeting be blessed, and may the good angels be with us today. So be it. Okay. Yeah, this is Jesus. So familiar. So, it's distracting you. Let's focus our time. Let's focus our time. And then she can do it again later. It's good for her to practice. Okay. So, are you familiar with the Spiritist doctrine? That's a question.
Yes.
Yes. So the Spiritist doctrine is based in 5 books. Already have. Do you remember which books are those?
In English.
Yeah, you can do it in Portuguese.
That's all.
Okay, so we have.
Spiritismo,
Okay.
Gênesis,
Dos médiuns.
Okay.
dos espíritos.
Dos espíritos.
I'm missing one of them.
Yeah.
Heaven and hell.
Heaven and hell.
So in
Em
the
português é lá.
sorry.
Sabe?
And so that's good. Thanks for helping. So the basic sequence of the books were the Spirit's book, then the Medium's book, then the Gospel according to Spiritism, Heaven and Hell, and finally the last one, the Genesis, which this year we are celebrating 150 years of its first publication. So we will talk a little bit more about this book today, try to encourage you to learn a little bit more about it. But maybe you know even better than me. Have you ever read this book? No? I don't have any idea, any clue what is in the book. No? That's good. That's okay. Our initial.
I missed this class.
That's another class, is a book. Well, we have in our library, so feel free to get to borrow it. So let's start with some reflections before we go forward. So how do you feel the Spiritist revelation in your life? Do you feel the Spiritist revelation at all in your life? either than just spending time coming here or doing the gospel at home?
It's good. I feel good.
You feel good?
I think
I feel
change,
comfy.
and I think changing our mind, our way of mind to think about the conflict. You know. Sometimes it's difficult because I have especially talking about me, because I know I'm not doing well and I need to change. So when I notice that's happened,
Welcome.
sometimes it's difficult, but I think the Spiritism change everything in your life, like your way to think about the things, to confront the difficult,
To
to
face the difficulties. Okay. Well,
I will try to speak.
I really encourage you. We have some notepads there. If you wanna take notes, because we have a few questions here, and we won't have enough time to all reflect about it. But this is important thing. How we feel. These questions are basic to help us to think how we feel and after the meeting. So if the meeting reaches its purpose, which is answering, so helping you to answer these questions. Good. Another important question is Spiritism an extraordinary revelation by all means? It's something extraordinary. From the word extraordinary is extraordinary, from coming from mystical things. How do you see this?
We have to write
This is for you. Don't need to write. Just write if you
If
want
you
to.
take notes,
If you wanna keep it for later, but it's not necessary. It's just if you want. How do you understand the scientific pillar of Spiritism? Just to remind, Spiritism is based on three basic pillars. You remember which one were there?
Law.
Science.
Okay.
religion.
I would say philosophy first. And then religion. So how do you understand this pillar, science or scientific part of Spiritism? Is it just because we studied mediumship, maybe, or is it broader than this? And how does it connect actually with the philosophy? How do you connect the divine laws and the Spiritist doctrine? Is there any connection between them or not? Yeah, it's based. Does this connection means anything for you or for your own involvement? Right? Okay, so as I said, we're talking about this beautiful book today, which was first published in January 6, 1868. So it's a little bit more than 150 years now. And the title of the book is Genesis, Miracles and Predictions According to Spiritism. The first release, the name was just Genesis, Miracles and Predictions. And then the second edition, I think Kardec taught twice, and I think we have to put that's according to Spiritism.
Do you think it's a difficult or easy book to read?
It is a very interesting book.
That's
It is not, as I always recommend, none of these books are just for read. They're just
to reflect.
because if we go in this book and read, we might think they're boring readings because they're not supposed to do just a easy reading as a romance.
I know, but the question is it easy to understand and reflect about?
It is easy to understand. Kardec is very, is a very good writer, so he always put his ideas very clear. And most of the Spirit's revelations are very straightforward. So as you read, for example, as you read the Gospel according to Spiritism, for sure you have already read some texts in there. How do you feel that the book? Do you feel it's a difficult book? So,
Sometimes we need to elaborate more.
yeah, that's why it's not a book for just a matter of reading. It's a book to think about it. So you read a whole chapter and start thinking about it, reflecting about it. What does it mean? I would say that at some points, the Genesis is even easier to read than the Gospel according to Spiritism. But the Gospel according to Spiritism comes way more in this connection.
They have an order to read,
No.
5 or no?
The idea is to read the Spirit's book for sure first. There is no really order. Depends on what you're interested in. So you can read the medium's book if you want.
Or maybe it's chronological.
No, there's, if I can say that my opinion is the best would think to read the Spirit's book, because then all the rest is the consequence of the book. But the Genesis could be a second book for sure. For example, Renzo, second book he read was Genesis. Never read any of the others, or probably some chapters of the Gospel according to Spiritism, but the Genesis is way more focused in this situation, the scientific and philosophical, growing the religion. The Gospel according to Spiritism is way more the philosophical and the religion picture. For sure, the Spirit's books, the three of them. But as I was saying, this is the fifth book, the last one. And we could say that it's a rock that settles the basics, the base of the Spiritist revelation after it is initiated with the masterpiece. That's why if there is a masterpiece, we should start with it, right? And then our masterpiece is the Spirit's book, or the way it's reading the Spirit's book. So the very first paragraph of this book is very interesting, what Kardec brings in there. He says, this new work is not one more step forward regarding the consequences and applications of Spiritism. As its title indicates, its objective is the study of three areas that are until today being diversely interpreted and commented upon the Genesis, or the Mosaic, or Moses, Genesis, the miracles and predictions, and how they relate to the new laws that have resulted from the observation of spirit phenomena. Basically, he's inviting us to understand in deep, and I'm not going to forget my point over here, understand in deep what can we bring together about these three subjects. The Genesis, in other words, how the world came up. Was it the Big Bang, as many defend? Was it just God just picking the fingers and then coming one day on one thing, one day another thing, and then the thing comes up in 7 days or 6 days, because he rested in the seventh? Are there miracles? How do we understand miracles? From your point of view, do you believe in miracles, Cynthia?
No.
No? What about you? I believe in miracles. What about you?
Not in a real sense of the word
Yeah.
miracle.
Yeah.
And what is
I
the
believe
real
in
sense
working
of
and working and ourselves and improve ourselves and the consequence coming from our attitudes, but not a miracle. I woke up this
just
morning.
fell from the sky?
Yeah, no.
Okay, so but basically miracle is that something that came because. And predictions. What are predictions? Like the well-known Leonardo da Vinci predictions about the end of the, or the Maya predictions about the end of the world. But has Jesus made predictions or not? Do you remember any prediction that he has made? I was trying to find them.
Difficult questions.
Right.
Yeah, I think yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
What kind of predictions he made? Do you remember it? Any of that?
The parables.
The what? Sorry.
Parables?
The parables?
Yeah.
Are they predictions or they are revelations?
I think the parables, it's you have to reflect about if you don't follow the divine laws, you can be a sufferer, suffer person. It's a prediction.
I would say that's more a revelation, right? Like he's just telling us how our actions react against or in favor of us. Or he's basically describing the action and
The law of reaction.
Action and reaction.
Reaction and reaction, yes.
But yeah, one, and we'll discuss a little bit more. One prediction that he made was the unforgettable phrase, "My words shall not pass away." In other words, he wouldn't be forgotten. Another prediction that he made is, "I will send you the consoler to stay with you, the consoling spirit, or in other words, the spiritist revelation. So there are some predictions, but what we need to understand is how these predictions come to us. Are those predictions like, if you don't do this, or someone's going to be the president, or someone's going to be killed, or this kind of predictions? We don't see evolved spirits making this kind of predictions. So we will talk a little bit more about it, but this is interesting because many religions in these 3 points, they create a very mystical way to dogmatize, if you can say that, or to create dogmas that you can't question because this is it. But Spiritism is not like this. And this book specifically, Kardec goes in depth of these 3 main subjects. Oops. And the second paragraph of the introduction of the book, Kardec says, 2 elements, or if you will, 2 forces govern the universe: the spiritual element and the material element. From the simultaneous action of these 2 principles, special phenomena are born that would be inexplicable if one of these 2 elements were excluded. Just as a formation of water would be inexplicable if you exclude one of its 2 constituent elements, oxygen and hydrogen. So you can't have water without 2 molecules of hydrogen and 1 of oxygen, right? Otherwise, it's not water. What he's basically saying is, if there weren't these 2 elements, the spiritual element and the material element, there is no universe. There would be just God, right?
I think I need to read this book just for asking Noah's questions.
To answer Noah's
to have
questions.
the right.
It might be a little too much for him for now. I might say
But you can't know how type of questions he does.
I hope he's still trying to do what kids do, make kids questions, not how the world is.
Yeah, like that.
And then we can give kids answer for this.
But I need to have a base.
So, going forward, this book is basically made in 3 parts. The first part, as we said, is the Genesis, and there are 12 chapters in this part. So the first chapter is the character of the Spiritist revelation. We will talk a little bit more about it. There is a chapter about God, a chapter about good and evil, and the 4th is the role of science in Genesis, the ancient and modern world theories, the general worldnography, say that in English. That's the studies of the matter. The geological sketch of the Earth, then the theories about the Earth, and just to remind you, during Kardec's times, there wasn't even the Big Bang Theory, so it was to come, but he already drafts a little bit in this chapter about this phrase, how things came up from often, or the materialistic point of view of how Earth came. The transformations of the globe. This is very interesting because the transformations of the globe, as this book was released in 1868, and Darwin theory was 1865, something like this, 1866. They were pretty close, but Darwin brings a point of view more materialistic point of view, but not against that, and keeps on going what the Spirit's book already says, how the world evolved, or the species and everything evolved to be in what we are. So it's already the Spiritist point of view on this, the organic Genesis, the spiritual Genesis, pardon me, and the Mosaic Genesis. So it's totally focused on how things came up. What is the relation of God with this? What is the relation in the matter, and how things evolved up to our days. Then we have the part 2, the miracles according to Spiritism. And then we have 3 chapters in this one. It's the characteristics of miracles, fluids. So we'll talk a little bit more about it later. And the third part, the predictions according to Spiritism. Then the chapter 16th, 17th, and 19th are talking also about it. And once again, we'll talk a little more about it. We won't talk about every chapter, otherwise we would be running out of time in 15 minutes. But, well, I chose to bring some parts of the book that we, in my opinion, it's more relevant for us to talk today. And hopefully will instigate you to go for a book, if there is still a book there. And then you can borrow the book and read it, or you can download from FAB in Portuguese. There is also audiobook, those who like audiobooks. Have you ever heard about Audible? It's from Amazon.
No.
There's an app from Amazon that you can download books and listen to it. So it's available in, I think it's $5, the full book.
I love this kind of.
It's nice, but
I can listen and do another thing while I don't need attention to do, like I don't know, the clean up and the listen, cooking and the listen.
You can do that again.
It's not
a book just for reading, not just a book just for listening. It's a book to study, because it's a very deep. Better than nothing, yes. But, as Alida usually says, in our moral laziness, that's not enough as well.
No.
That is not enough as well. So I would invite you, to try. For Cynthia, we have at home, so actually talk there. Can't even say that you know how to do. So we'll talk about the first chapter, which is the character of the Spiritist revelation. And in the book, in the item 56, Well, basically here, Kardec points why the Spiritist doctrine brings so much understanding of our reality, or our lives, or our existence, all related to, since the first revelation with Moses' revelation and then Christ's revelation, and the third revelation, which is Spiritism. And one important question, which is also in the Spirit's book, is if Christ said everything, why the heck we need Spiritism? What do you think? And this is basically one of the goals in this chapter, because if the gospel of Jesus has all the truth, why do we need Spiritism?
To remind.
To remind us of the beginning of the answer.
To remind our the divine laws is inside our mind.
Conscious.
Yeah, conscious. Yeah.
The Spiritism is immortal.
Spiritism is immortal. Jesus kind of said that.
I feel for the character of the Spiritism revelation, it's this. The Spirit is immortal.
Here in the book, Kardec asks, or there is a point that he makes, of what use is the moral doctrine of the spirits, since it is no other than that of Christ himself? Do humans even have need of a revelation? Can they not find within themselves everything that's necessary for self-guidance? Those are very important questions.
I need to read
all
this
this-
question 3 times to answer this question.
I can read it again. Of what use is the moral doctrine of the spirits, since it is none other than that of Christ himself? In other words, what is the use for the Spiritist doctrine if we are just saying what Christ said? Do humans even have need of a revelation? Do we need revelation? Or the other very important question is, can they not find within themselves everything that's necessary for self-guidance?
So the
All this-
Spiritism is a guide, so everybody can kind of follow.
Yeah, but why do we need it? Since Spiritism follows Christ. Spiritism has not created anything new. It's revelated, maybe, something that Jesus didn't say.
So that's my last answer. The guide help us to remind all the divine laws you have in our conscience, but depended by ourselves to think about how to apply the best way to be a good person and follow Jesus examples.
That's a good start. That's a good start for this. Look what I want to read all the answers to motivate you to read the chapter 1 of the book, but it starts with this answer. From the moral point of view, God has without a doubt provided humans with a guide in their conscience, what you just said, which says, do unto others what you would do, but then do to you, unto you. So Jesus said that. But the Spiritist doctrine doesn't claim to change anything that Jesus said, but in other words, to highlight and put in practice what he said. We reach a superior state of spirit without Spiritism? Yes. As many actually. Right? But we are, as basically how the book finishes, it is time. It is time for transformation of the world. And we need to understand that when Jesus told us that he would send the consoler, would be to bring us consolation, inform our hearts, but also to alert us as this is a chance for you. Come on, put your hands and work, because it's not difficult, it's hard work. Then you have in the chapter 2, which is a beautiful chapter, by the way, talking about God and the divine providence. Well, God, we think kind of know what God is, right? What is God? Huh?
Where?
What is God? So I invite you all again to read the Spirit's book, because that's the first question of the Spirit's book. So I will ask you, Cynthia, to read and answer.
In Italian, and final thought of everything.
Yeah. They're very simple.
Same my answer. What is God? God is the supreme intelligence, first cause of all things.
God is the supreme intelligence.
The problem is
It's
the
the
English.
first-
It's not your.
It's the first cause of all things. And in this chapter, there is a beautiful passage that we keep trying to understand God in our state of evolvement. And he makes an analogy with someone climbing a mountain. And when there is those very high mountains that are covered by clouds, when you reach the top and you are above that, you can see everything from there. You have a way broader view of things. That's our evolvement. We're getting closer to God, we have a broader view. That's why Jesus could see deep of us, because he has a way broader view as an evolving spirit, as a pure spirit. And he comments a lot about the divine providence. Do you guys remember what is the divine providence? What is divine providence? Is it a dogma from Spiritism? Because it is a dogma in other religions, other Christian religions. That's the divine providence. Just have to have blind faith and do what you have to do. The divine providence is God's mercy upon us. So all the time he is looking at us. Again, with the perspective of being the top of the mountain. And Kardec says that in the book, you can see every grain of earth surround you from miles distance. He compares in this chapter us diving in a pool. That's God. God's everywhere. We're immersed is not a human being or a being that's sitting in a throne as we used to think for years and years and years, or centuries, or for the many incarnations. We have to understand that God is spirit, is all this energy surrounding us all the time, and we are basically in connection with Him all the time. So this is a beautiful part of the book as well. The third part that I would like to highlight is the good and evil. That it is important for us to understand that what is evil?
Godliness, God, good, the love,
The non-existence of good.
non-existence.
So if I do nothing, I'm doing good then.
Right?
If I do nothing, I'm doing good because I'm not doing evil.
No,
No,
no.
no, because you can be good.
If you do nothing, you are
We're
not
not
correct.
doing good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't, yeah. Always
To
be
do
good.
good is to
Hard
do
work.
all the good that we can. If we don't do all the good we can,
You don't
the consequences being evil. As light. If we turn off the lights here, what we're gonna have?
No
Darkness.
darkness or absence of light.
We'll have darkness, which is absence of light. So evil basically is absence of good, or the non-existence of good. So we have to really understand it, and this is a chapter again that Kardec makes tons of reflections about. What are the goods that we could make? What are the goods that we're wasting time on doing? And what are the evils we are choosing to do by consequence? This is another very important part of the book, and very interesting. My animation here didn't work well, but okay. The part 4 is the characters of the miracle. It goes in deep analyzing what are miracles. Because as we talked in the very beginning here, what is miracle? Let's try Monster, he wasn't here yet. What is a miracle, Monster?
Things that we still don't understand.
Things that we still don't understand. That's a good approach to answer it. But what we have to understand is we keep this superstitious way of thinking things. Even though we have Spiritism doctrine in our lives, we still have superstitions in it. And when this is a good thing that will happen, it's a miracle. So, wow, God likes me. But what is really, if we talk about divine laws, what is it really the miracle? Or I got something that I found that was.
I don't know the English, but it is merecimento.
Yeah, there is the law of merit, and okay, I have the merit for that, but
because you need to work hard
Yeah. So there is another law that comes first.
to practice the divine laws and to have a merit.
It's profound.
Maybe that is a miracle.
There is the law of work, and there is before the law of work, or with the law of working, there is another law that we talked before. Action and reaction. That's correct. Because if I do good, I will achieve the law of merit, and then I will be reward. Oh,
In the real life, miracle can be what you said. For example, when you say a beautiful flower, you say, oh, this is a miracle of God. You don't know how the flowers.
Really,
well, you can study, and then you learn.
yeah.
That's basically why
Everything
there is
you
no
say.
miracle, really, because
You say you'll be
we might not have, maybe
Yeah.
our science today don't have the answer. And then comes what the master said. Oh, yeah, we might not have. For example, many things that during Kardec's time, our science couldn't explain yet. And many are already explained a little bit better. So we can see that, well, there is no miracle really. But until then, if you will remember, there were 2 or 3 big forces happening during Kardec's time. One, the end of the Dark Ages, because the influence of the church was huge yet. Huge. Just to remind you, in Kardec, in 1861 or 62, Kardec sent some copies of the Spirit's book and some other books, the Spiritism magazine, to Barcelona. And a bishop from Barcelona got the books and burned it in a public square, saying that it was against the Catholic Church. So there was a big force there. The other big force was materialism, that was growing like crazy with all these people against the rules of the church. What was people trying to say, no, there is reason for everything, and it is not in religion yet. So this brings us, this brought him a lot of trouble to deal with. Miracle, what is not miracle? Really, there's no miracle, just because we can't explain yet. And then this is a very interesting, this is on the part 2 of the book. And this is also well related to the fluids, manipulation of the fluids. For example, during Kardec's time, there wasn't much research, or they couldn't even see exactly what would be the benefits of the past. Today, there are research and academic research that prove that past has helps people to regain some energy or to heal some issues. The other thing that we usually during our past training we show in Kardec time, sorry, the microscopes weren't so robust as today. So, for example, there is a Japanese guy that took molecules of water, and when emitting to molecules of water bad feelings or bad thoughts, the structure was horrible. Understanding good feelings and good thoughts was beautiful. Actually, except Cynthia, all of you have seen this, as you have been on the train. So yeah, the manipulation of fluids most of the time brings us a lot of answers, which connects to the item 6 when we talk about the mirrorism of the gospel. How Jesus did all those healings of leprosy, for example. How the heck Jesus restored the vision of someone? We know that vision is one of the worst things that you can work. The medicine nowadays still struggles with someone who is blind. Most likely is going to be blind for the rest of their life. Now there is the bio-scientific way that they're trying to computers to do it. But for example, and I don't know this word in English, sorry. We know that this is all related to the cellular and pure spirit or enlightened spirit, pretty sure that he knows how to manipulate this kind of cell. He knows how to rebuild it and put it to work again. So basically, all Jesus' knowledge was really miracles. He was just putting in action all his knowledge as a spirit of that degree of evolvement. On the predictions and the gospel, I would like to quickly read something for you here. I know this scribe. It's called David. All right. So Jesus said, my words shall not pass away. So this is a prediction. Yes, 2018 years later, probably his words are stronger than ever now. And he said, Kardec brings a reflection about this saying, Jesus' words shall not pass away, for they will be true for all times. For they will be true for all times. Why Jesus' words will be true for all times? I talked a little bit about it. Because they were full of God's law. They were fully connected to God's law. They were actually the reflection of God's law. Jesus' acts were in fully connection of God's law. So that's why these predictions weren't something extraordinary again. It was something that the pure spirit, who is in pure connection with God, can really understand why his words will be with us forever, since they came. And finally, the last part of the book, which says, the time has come. And then we reflect a little bit about it, that yes, this is related to the moment that Earth is passing, right? The passing from trial and expiation world to regeneration world. And I would like to bring a little piece of one of the last texts that he talks about the new generation. Kardec says, in order for people to be happy on the earth, it must be populated only just 2 minutes. 2 minutes. Must be populated only by good incarnations incarnated or and disincarnated spirits who desire nothing but the good. Once such a time has come, there will be a great immigration from among those who inhabit the earth. Yeah, some will have to leave, right? You know that. Those who practice evil for evil's sake and who are untouched by the sentiment of the good will no longer be worthy of the transformed planet. They will be banished from it because their stay would once more cause trouble and confusion and would be an obstacle to progress. Some will expiate their hardness of heart on less evolved worlds, as we well know our friends, or maybe our friends who came from Capella. Others will do so among primitive races, where on earth, here on earth, which will be the same as expiating on less evolved worlds. This will bring with them the knowledge that they acquired and will have the mission of enabling these races to advance, as the Capellian had with us as well. They had with us as well. They will be replaced by more advanced spirits who will see it, who will see to it that justice, peace, and fraternity reign. And this is also what we are seeing, right? From the mediumship of Divaldo Franco, we know that Filomeno de Miranda and Joana de Angelis mentioned about these spirits coming from other planets to boost our process of evolving. So, once again, this book was written 150 years ago and it's more actual than ever. So, I hope we have motivated you to maybe download the app and buy the book, or we have the book for sale here, we have the book in our library for reading. It is a very important book. There is no chronology, as Cynthia asked if we should read this or that first. This is a book for people who like science or explanation of things. This is a beautiful book. But I don't believe it's the case of Noah yet. Maybe in
No, just to have a base to answer these questions.
maybe 20 years. 20 years. Anyways, guys, thank you very much. We're running out of time because of this, so let's see what they have for us. All right, so let's do our final prayer and then we go to the classes. Pode botar isso. Seria bom, se você mora aí, a gente faz um pouquinho mais rápido. All right, so once again, I invite you to close your eyes. Let's thank God for this beautiful day. Let's thank God for this beautiful book brought through the spirits provided by another deck, which helps us to enlighten our lives. May we be more inspired to study more per deck. May we be more inspired to study more Jesus teachings. Dear Lord, in this world that we are full of confusion these days, this world that we see so much anger, may we light the good light in our lives so we can help collaborating in the development of ourselves, them, our neighbors, and consequently the whole world, earth. Dear Lord, please bless our week, bless our families, bless our dear members, friends, workers of FSS who couldn't be here today. May we have a beautiful Sunday, full of Jesus in our hearts, following His guidance to do to others what we would like them to do to us. May we have meekness in our hearts, humbleness in our acts, and start feeling as apprentices of Jesus. So be Não, vocês não terminam juntos aqui para tomar paz. Vocês vão ter que fazer.